Friends, you're in for a very special guest today on the Elite Educator. Her name is Stacy Hovey, and she's a vice principal at Trinity Catholic High School in Ottawa, Ontario, capital of Canada, and a recipient of the Sovereign's Medal for Volunteers from the Governor General of Canada, with a career spanning teaching, curriculum development, and university instruction. She is dedicated to fostering student growth and creating a supportive environment for both students and staff. Welcome, Stacy.
Welcome to you too. Thanks for hosting me. What a pleasure and a privilege.
Tell me, how did you get on this education pathway?
Well, I took the right turn. So originally, I did not necessarily want to become a teacher. I wanted to pursue a career that was going to make me the most money I could possibly get my hands on, because a young person at the time really thought that money was going to buy me happiness. And boy, oh boy, was I wrong. You can have all the money in the world and truly not be as happy as you need to be. So ultimately, I took a turn, and the turn was the best one imaginable, and I have never looked back.
Cool. Now, you have done a lot with your career. What keeps you passionate about it every day?
My why. My why is our kids. I love our kids, all our kids. It doesn't matter how old they are. I would come to work every day. I will continue to come to work every day with a smile on my face, like it's Christmas, because I love being able to be there to support our kids. And in order to do that, and to do that well, we have to make sure that our staff are well supported. And that's something I also love to do. I sort of have a hospitality type instructional leadership approach where I feel like if I can serve everyone to the best of my ability while continuing to keep my own cup full, I will make sure that the kids ultimately get the best of all of us.
So, you've worked in teaching, curriculum development, and university instruction. How have these different roles shaped your approach as a vice principal?
Totally different roles, but honestly, great because each one of them has its own type of contribution. So, if I lived in a perfect world and I became a principal someday, I would still also want to be a teacher. I think that being on the ground and still having a foot in the classroom is something that every instructional leader should have the opportunity to do. That's just my personal opinion. And so, being a classroom teacher for the first 10 years of my career were some of the best years of my career. I got to have 90 students a semester, build really close relationships with each one of those kids. I knew their names, their dogs' names, their cats' names, their parents' names, what was going on in their life. If they came in and they hadn't had something to eat, it was getting them something to eat. If they came in, they didn't have the right clothes for the winter, we were getting them the right clothes for the winter. Just doing whatever we could to do a wraparound approach. And I love that. And then having the opportunity to go to the Ministry of Education and actually write curriculum. Now that was super cool because I got to work with a team of incredibly intelligent people. And at the time, when I first started this good work, we did not have any First Nations, Inuit, or Métis courses. And that was a tragedy to me. I remember having a conversation with our director of education and saying, hey, do you think we could maybe pilot some of these FNMI courses here at my school? And he said, that sounds like a great idea. And let me tell you, we have come a long way because now I can stand in an arena, cheer our Ottawa Senators on, and there's a land acknowledgement, which many people, even if you look back 10, 15 years ago, no idea. Had no idea about residential schools, thought I was teaching, I don't know what. So that opportunity to work with elders and work with experts and make sure that the curriculum was on point, it had all of the right information, it was written in a good way. Wow, now that was awesome. That gave me quite a lens. And teaching in the faculty of education, that is another dream job. I hope to get to do that one day, maybe more full time. I was just there doing a guest spot 2 weeks ago and had a chance to meet with some incredible teachers. So to teach the teacher, that's the dream. Passing on all of your knowledge, things that you know work, that ultimately work for children, answering their questions, seeing how how truly excited they are, how passionate they are, remembering how I felt when I was in teachers college and I couldn't wait to get, my first set of students, and then actually getting my first set of students and having my own minor heart attack because, I didn't know how I was going to do this or how I was going to deal with that, and ways to learn. So all of those lenses have contributed in a very positive way to make me, I think, a little bit more well-rounded in terms of my experience and my knowledge. So when I have things to share or things to offer, I can say that I've had an opportunity to learn from all of these different perspectives.
So, what strategies do you use to ensure educators feel cared for and empowered in your school community?
You always need to put those teachers on a pedestal. They belong there. So, strategy number one, as an administrator, you need to be visible. You cannot live in your office. You need to be out there with your feet on the ground and checking in on your people. And when you're checking attendance, for example, you're not just looking at, okay, who's missed this day or that day. You need to want to know a little bit more about the why. If you see someone's consistently missing, then for you, it's not going to be from a standpoint of, oh, this person's missing work, I have to get a replacement. Ugh, so difficult to get replacements. We could have an entire conversation on why we need more educators, but that's separate. What you need to be saying is, oh, is there something going on? How can I help? Is this person maybe having some personal struggles? May I offer them support? We have support in our board. Can I offer them some support that is confidential, anonymous? What do I do? Can I walk by? Can I get them a coffee so that, they can go for a quick little walk or take a break and I can watch their class, or I can teach a lesson while they go do something else, or we could team teach or whatever. You need to come up with solutions so that you know that your teachers are okay. And to take care of them, you need to know what they need. So not only those conversations, those face-to-face conversations, but at a staff meeting, is there anything else you guys want to talk about? Sending out an email in advance. Are there things that are, hot button issues that you guys need to discuss? What do you need? How can I help you? And putting in those supports and taking care of them, honestly, they like to eat. Who doesn't like to eat? Who doesn't want a nice, hot, warm meal before or maybe in between parent teacher interviews? We have parent teacher interviews coming up. Yes, I go around early. Yes, I put a water bottle on top of everyone's desk to make sure that they're hydrated. They got to talk a mile a minute, like you can see that I do. Then I want to make sure they're fed and fed well. So I got the background music on. I've got their dinner. I've got their dessert. I've got their coffee, their tea, their likes. Just taking care of them. You have to take care of your people. It's so, so important. And you have to let them know that it's okay to not be okay. And you have to model that. So when I'm not doing well and I know, like, you know what, I need to take a recharge day, that's not a secret. I can let people know I needed to take a day to take care of me. And they then know that, hey, they can take a day that they need to take care of them.
Okay, well, with that, we're going to pause for a commercial message. But friends, come right back because you're going to learn a lot more tips and skills to help you in your job every day. So, Stacy, how do you balance the administrative demands of your role with staying connected to your students and teachers?
That's an amazing question. And the balancing is hard. If you talk to anybody about work-life balance, they will tell you that it is a learned skill, I believe. And I've had to learn the skill too, because I think as educators, many of us are sort of type A. We want to get everything done. We give 110% into everything that we do. So you need to make the balance intentional. Translation is something I've learned to do and I'd recommend to other people is I have learned how to turn off my devices when I am with my family. So am I having family time? That is my family time. I'm not on my computer doing my work while my son is trying to talk to me about his homework. I have to turn it off. So I have to be very intentional about making sure that I'm doing what work needs to get done when it needs to get done, and then having my time away. And I also need to be intentional about, what, if I am away, putting on something like a message sender to say to folks, hey, I'm away. I'm not going to be getting back to you until such and such a time. That is really helpful. People, they know I'm not ignoring them. I am away, but then I need to actually be away. And I can tell you, even though I put on that message sender when I first started doing it, I was still checking my messages and still replying to people. So I had to teach myself, Stacy, stop doing that. It's there for a reason. So a lot of it, honestly, is self-talk and taking personal responsibility to balance your work and your personal life. And you need to keep a personal life. Your work cannot be your whole life. You need to enjoy all the other things that you do, and you intentionally need to make time for them. So as a first year teacher, you can't be just doing lesson planning 24/7. If you like to run, you still need to run. You need sleep. I know that's a crazy concept for many of us, but like you need sleep. So those things are important, but you have to really recognize that they matter, because if you do not take care of your wellness, you will be forced to take care of your illness.
So, in your experience, what are the most pressing challenges facing educators today, and how can the schools address them?
Hmm. I think a lot of our educators today honestly feel overworked, um, stressed, maybe underappreciated, even if I'm being really honest. I think the overwork part is probably the hardest part. How can we address some of those things? I know it sounds simple, but some class sizes are absolutely out of control. Like people think, oh, a class of 32, no big deal. Yeah, it's a big deal. My husband is a shop teacher, so he teaches auto mechanics. His shop is not very big, but he does everything he can to make sure every one of those kids has a great experience. But for safety, the numbers got to be lower. So something simple in terms of, making sure that class sizes are what they need to be. I think also honoring teachers. When teachers say, this is what I would really like to teach, and this is what I'm qualified to teach, even though you might really need them to teach, I don't know, physics, if they also really, really, really want to teach math, giving them as much as you possibly can based on the needs of the school, what it is that they need. So don't just think about the needs of the school. You also have to think about the needs of your teacher. So you got to listen to them, and you have to understand what it is that they want. Not listen for hearing's sake, but listen for actual understanding, because that will go the extra mile. I think it's important to, go right to the source and ask them, you're in the trenches. This is what you're going through. How can I be of service to you?
I think you said one key word there is listen. That is something that I think people forget in this mad rush to get progress done.
You're not wrong, because everyone's so busy, right? So when someone comes into your office, maybe you're sitting down, you're typing an email. Okay, you can say to them, just hold on a second. If you're like a squirrel like me, I just need to finish this line. And then you close your computer and give them your full attention with your head, your heart, your body language, and make sure they know that you're really listening to them. The other thing I notice sometimes, I'm not sure if you've ever seen it, but someone wants to show that they're listening. So they're taking 17 million notes. But what it looks like to the person on the other end is you're sitting there taking all of these notes. Like, are you really getting how I feel? Like, look at me, see how, like, hear me, see me, look at me, acknowledge what it is that I'm saying to you. So even that, like, I think you need to be very conscientious of what you're doing when you're sitting down and truly listening to someone, and even time and place. Maybe someone really wants to talk to you and they're telling you something that's really important, but you're standing in a hallway full of kids. So looking at them and saying, hey, I really want to have this conversation, but we're like, this is crazy right now. Do you have time, like at lunch or after school? Can I come to your class? Can I bring you a coffee or a tea? Can we just sit and chat so that it's just the two of us and I can really hear you out? Like, make it intentional.
I love your sentiment and I love your enthusiasm. And I think that is something everybody has to bring every day in every job, in every situation. And that's one of the hardest things in the world to do.
I couldn't agree with you more. It is hard because we're all trying to do our best all the time and we're all busy, but you have to recognize what matters, what's important. Is that email that you were trying to type important? Maybe, but is it as important as the person who's sitting right across from you who needs you in that moment? Never. It'll never be as important as that person.
And I think this is what people forget in this hubbub. You know, you need to put things in their proper perspective. I think everybody is so busy They get lost in their emails, they get lost in their stuff, and they forget that what's really important is the people aspect of everything.
It is the most important. When you go to, teachers college, they'll tell you 17 times to Christmas. Even when you get a job, they'll say it's about relationships. They use the word relationships over and over and over again. But it's true, right? It's absolutely true. You're going to, whether you're a teacher who's working with students, and it's from the perspective of you build that relationship with your student, you build a really strong relationship with your student, you're not going to have classroom management issues. That's not happening because your students respect you, admire you, love you. And so they're going to do anything for you because they know how much you respect, admire, and love them. It's the same thing with your staff. You respect, admire, treat your staff, and put them on the pedestal on which they belong, then you're going to get that back. And you don't do it because you want to get something in return. You do it ultimately because it is best for kids and kids are your why. But by the same token, you always have to recognize that if you don't build those relationships and you don't take them seriously or you take them for granted, the other side is true. The kids are not going to listen to you in your classroom. They are not going to care what you're saying. When you're standing at your staff meeting trying to get them on board to do deep learning or whatever, they're tuned out because you haven't tuned into them.
That's the key. Tuning in to the things that are important and tuning out of the things that are less important.
You got it, sir. You got it big time.
Okay, so what advice do you give to an inspiring educational leader who wants to foster both academic excellence and emotional well-being in schools?
I think my first piece of advice would be as simple as take a minute and think about why, your why. Why did you get into whatever profession, if it's the vice principal or the teacher, the principal, or some other profession? Why did you do it in the first place? Go back to your why, recognize what matters, and then make sure that you are always as present to people as you can possibly be. So do whatever you need to do that works for you, because we're all different people. We all have different personalities. You can be a serious introvert and still be amazing at working with people. You don't need to be, I'm a little more extroverted. I'm not going to lie. You probably got that already. You don't need to be like me, jumping around to have those relationships. You just need to want it. You need to know what your why is. And in my case, my why is always going to be my kids. And then you need to be able to prioritize them in a way that makes sense for you.
So, how did it feel to receive the Sovereign's Medal for Volunteers from the Governor General of Canada? And what did that recognition mean to you personally and professionally?
That was absolutely one of the most, the greatest honors that I've received. I had my family there with me, and it was extremely special. I think in part because there was this acknowledgement that I'm just a person like anybody else. So anybody could receive this by simply saying, "There's lots of things in the world. How can I make the world a better place?" And so for me, I was taught very young by my parents that it didn't matter what you had, it was more about what you could give away. And I could give easily my time and my heart. So I started volunteering in a like in at as many places I could possibly go. I volunteered in the hospital. I volunteered with Boys and Girls Clubs. I volunteered with Save the Children Canada, the Canadian Coalition for the Rights of the Child. A lot of the work that I did was around youth. And then the other side of things, I actually volunteered in a seniors home. My favorite guy was Luigi. We used to dance together, no music, but we sang and we danced anyways. I have so many memories of things that I did, not for any compensation, not for any award. I never knew I was going to be nominated for any award, but just because it was the right thing to be doing. I mean, no one was going to visit Luigi, unfortunately. He didn't have any friends. Evelyn Stewart is another amazing woman, passed away at 104. Honestly, this is a weird side story, but I think it's because of Evelyn that I ended up meeting my husband. But sidebar there. So long story short, it was quite an honor. It's had a huge impact on my life in the sense that I keep that medal up and it's right by in my office, but it's where I turn on the lights in the morning. And I put it specifically where I turn on the lights in the morning because I want to remind myself that even in the busiest of days, there is always time to do something philanthropic, something that doesn't come because I have to, but because I want to. And so I still make sure that I'm involved and I still volunteer with different organizations here in Ottawa, whether it's soup kitchens or hospitals, to try and bring joy to other people.
Stacy, how do you live a fantastic life, balancing teaching and your personal life?
I can tell you right now, there is no way I could do all of the things I do without my husband. He's number one. So I honestly, I don't know. I have two kids that are 7 and 10, and how I could be a mom of two kids and do all the things I do, I couldn't without him. And my parents, absolutely, they've instilled all the values in me to be who I am today. So that's kind of like those are my pillars, those are my rocks, those are my go-to. When my husband is taking me out and treating me, it's my mom who's watching my kids. We call her Nonna Buddy. She's watching the kids and making sure that they're cared for so that I can have some extra care. But I also make sure that like I am taking care of me. So, whether it's taking time to book in a massage or read a book or do something for myself, like I try and do those things as well. But at the end of the day, I think you have to find a place where you can say to yourself, life is good. Not every day is going to be like a great day. And sunshine and rainbows aren't going to be flying out of the sky all the time. But I think, everything is a matter of perspective. I choose to see the glass as half full, not half empty. It's just how I live. I'm an optimist, not a realist. My friend says, "Well, I'm a realist." I said, "Give me a break." Like I want to look at things with a positive lens. I want to choose happy. I want to choose good. You know, I want to choose the best for everybody.
That is beautiful, I tell you. Uh, we're getting close to the end of our show. How can people find out more about you and what you have to offer?
Well, the truth of the matter is I'm really not on any social media platforms other than X. You can get a hold of me on X. Is the only platform I have, and the only reason I have it is because my wonderful employer said you need to be on some sort of social media, Stacy. You got to have some sort of platform. So I've got that. Other than that, I don't have any way for folks to get a hold of me. But I do, want to continue to educate myself. I would recommend to folks out there, if you're listening and you're looking for a great conference, and they didn't pay me to say this, but the Innovative School Summit, I was just there in Florida this weekend. Amazing conference, amazing speakers, tons to be learned. So going to those types of things is also definitely very, very beneficial, and staying professionally proficient and up to date with all of the things that are going on in the world. I think that's important.
This has been a genuine show, and to our listeners, there has been so much packed in this. You would never know the pearls of wisdom that has been shared by our wonderful guest, Stacy Hovey. So please re-listen to this all the time and make sure you sign up for our next episode of The Elite Educator, because we're going to bring to you tips and techniques to make your classroom and work experience rock. Thank you so much, Stacy.
Thank you.